So, listen to this. Outside of the two names everyone repeats, how many modern wingers can claim a career built on raw dominance rather than hype? A player who delivered a goal or assist almost every full match for nearly 2 decades, collected trophies in every country he entered, and terrified defenders not with tricks alone, but with power that felt unnatural. This is the story of Hulk, a footballer who never fit the mold, never chased approval, and never waited for permission. From the very beginning, he was different. Not special in the polished academy sense, different in a way that confused people. As a child in Paraíba, far from Brazil's glamorous football factories, he was already unusually strong, constantly hungry, physically overwhelming kids twice his age. Growing up in a household where survival came before dreams, waking before sunrise to help his parents work at a meat stand. While other prospects were being scouted for elegance and finesse, Hulk was being ignored because he looked wrong, built wrong, too muscular, too powerful, too raw for the image football wanted to sell. Rejection followed him everywhere. Big Brazilian clubs passed, smaller academies doubted him, coaches tried to change his position, forcing him into roles that hid what made him dangerous. Until he realized something crucial. If football wouldn't open the front door, he'd take the longest road possible. That road led him across continents, into leagues most stars would never touch, where he played not for applause, but for escape, security, and respect. And once he finally found space to express himself, something terrifying happened. Defenders couldn't stop him, goalkeepers feared his shot, and leagues began to bend around his presence. Yet even as Europe came calling, Hulk's career choices revealed the core truth about him. He wasn't chasing legacy, he was chasing certainty, shaped by a childhood that taught him nothing was guaranteed. That decision cost him universal recognition, but it forged one of the most dominant, relentless, and misunderstood careers football has ever seen. If you value stories about players who didn't follow the script, who rewrote it, make sure you stay with this journey because Hulk's path proves that greatness doesn't always ask to be loved. Sometimes it just arrives unstoppable. Hulk's rise wasn't just about football. It was about power, control, and a system designed to bend rules without ever breaking them on paper. His agent, Juan Figer, the same fixer who once engineered Maradona's legendary move to Napoli, was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. A small, almost invisible club was being used as a holding ground, a place to store Hulk's registration while his value climbed, allowing ownership of his economic rights to be quietly split, hidden, and manipulated. This was the Wild West era of football finance before FIFA clamped down on third-party ownership, and Hulk was caught right in the middle of it. Eventually, Porto untangled the mess, buying out the remaining rights for just over 5 million euros. And at 22 years old, Hulk finally landed in Portugal. Not as a prospect, but as a loaded weapon. It didn't take long. By November, he was already a starter, frustrating fans on quiet days and absolutely terrifying opponents on good ones. The inconsistency annoyed people, but the ceiling was undeniable. Awards followed, global recognition followed, and suddenly his name was being listed alongside the most promising players on the planet. Even legends were paying attention. Coaches, journalists, icons, they all said the same thing. How is this man not playing for Brazil? After Porto faced Manchester United in the Champions League, even Sir Alex Ferguson openly questioned how a player like Hulk could be overlooked. Transfer rumors exploded, English giants circled, and Porto responded the only way they knew how. A contract extension with a release clause so absurd it felt like a statement of war. 100 million euros. Untouchable. Untested. Unprecedented. But football never moves in straight lines. Just as Hulk was establishing himself with the national team and Porto looked ready to dominate again, everything collapsed in a tunnel. A heated derby, tempers flaring, chaos after the final whistle, and somehow Hulk became the symbol of it all. While others were visibly aggressive, while footage showed far worse actions, he took the heaviest punishment. A suspension that felt personal, months sidelined, a season derailed. The backlash was immediate and massive. Committees overturned decisions, bans were reduced after the damage was already done, and the controversy grew so large that the league's leadership itself fractured under the pressure. Porto stumbled without him. Titles slipped away, records died quietly. But the moment Hulk returned, the message was brutal and clear. Goals, assists, wins, one after another, 9 goal contributions in 9 matches. A cup final decided by his foot. It was revenge without words. And then came the Villas Boas era. Young, fearless, ruthless. From that moment on, Porto didn't just win, they overwhelmed. Hulk dominated month after month, stacking awards like reminders of what happens when you try to contain something uncontainable. By mid-season, only 2 players in all of Europe had scored more than him, and both were redefining the sport itself. Yet even then, the rivalry with Benfica hovered like a shadow. Questions followed him everywhere. Accusations, implications, political whispers. Hulk's response? Silence. No drama. No fuel. Every mention of the noise was met with the same cold dismissal. I don't know who that is. And on the pitch, he answered the only way he ever did, by making it impossible to ignore him. Pressure never worked on Hulk, and mind games worked even less. When Jorge Jesus tried to poke the bear publicly, brushing him off as not a real difference maker, Hulk didn't argue, didn't react, didn't blink. He knew it was theater. He knew the bluff. Jesus even reshuffled his defense, throwing David Luiz out to the left flank, hoping his prized asset could slow the storm. It took 12 minutes for that plan to collapse. Hulk tore through him, created the opener, sparked the move for the second, won a penalty, buried it himself for the fourth, hit his iconic bodybuilder pose, and then sealed the humiliation with a thunderbolt from outside the box to make it 5. After the final whistle, Hulk finally spoke, calmly, coldly, saying that maybe Jorge Jesus didn't know him very well, but tomorrow he could open the newspapers and learn, because the man on the front page would be him. Porto didn't just win the league that year, they erased it. Unbeaten. 21 points clear. A historic margin. Hulk finished as top scorer, top assist provider, and player of the season, and just to twist the knife, he made sure the title-clinching goal came against Benfica inside their own stadium. So bitter were the hosts that they shut off the lights the moment the match ended, trying to kill the celebration, only to make the images legendary. As if that wasn't enough, Porto completed the treble weeks later, lifting the Europa League and the Portuguese Cup, cementing themselves as the most dominant side since Mourinho's reign. Hulk ended the campaign with 62 goal contributions, a one-man wrecking crew, prompting Porto to buy even more of his economic rights, pushing his valuation to an absurd 90 million euros for 90% ownership, the most expensive investment in Portuguese football history, and one that would soon make sense. The following season only added fuel to the myth. More goals, more assists, more chaos. A national team regular now, Hulk delivered another long-range missile against Benfica, this time amid disgraceful monkey chants from the stands, responded not with words, but with his boot. He added an Olympic silver medal, scoring in the final, smashed in a screamer against Shakhtar Donetsk, and closed the year with 21 goals, 15 assists, and yet another league title. Europe came knocking hard. Chelsea pushed forward with a massive bid, Abramovich ready to pull the trigger, and for a moment it looked like England was inevitable. But then, at the very last second, Zenit arrived with something stronger than tradition, prestige, or promises: more money. 60 million euros, a higher salary. And Hulk, true to who he'd always been, didn't make a scene, didn't force a move, didn't chase a badge. He followed the path that had always rewarded him. While Falcao left and terrorized La Liga while other stars chased legacy, Hulk became one of the most expensive players in football history and headed east. What waited for him there was darker than anyone expected. Just 2 weeks into his Zenit career, the club had to call in a bomb disposal unit after someone planted a fake explosive at the training ground, alongside a picture of Hulk and a message telling him to get out of the club. That was the environment he walked into, and somehow, as always, he kept walking forward. No matter how strong he was, nothing prepared Hulk for what waited in Russia. Week after week, he stood there absorbing some of the most disgusting racist abuse imaginable. At one point, Zenit's largest ultras group even released a statement demanding the club expel all black players. Inside the dressing room, resentment brewed too. Some teammates couldn't accept that a foreigner was earning more than the Russian core. Tensions exploded, arguments followed, even a public fallout with Luciano Spalletti. Hulk openly admitted he wanted out, and for a brief moment, destiny twisted again. A loan to Real Madrid was discussed right after they missed out on Neymar. Then Zenit pulled the plug, sacked Spalletti, and brought in the one man who truly understood him, André Villas-Boas. And suddenly, everything changed. Zenit didn't beg Hulk to stay out of loyalty. They did it out of fear. because in just 4 matches against AC Milan and Liverpool, Hulk had delivered 3 goals and an assist. Players like that don't grow on trees, especially not ones willing to play in St. Petersburg. From there, he only escalated. Fresh off lifting the Confederations Cup with Brazil and assisting in the final alongside Neymar, Hulk returned and dropped 34 goal contributions in under 3,000 minutes. He practically dragged Zenit into the Champions League, directly involved in 4 of their 6 playoff goals, then announced himself on the biggest stage, scoring against Atletico Madrid, scoring and assisting against Porto to knock his former club out, and firing Zenit into the knockout rounds for just the 2nd time in their history, where he scored twice and nearly eliminated Dortmund by himself. Despite playing on Europe's outskirts, he was still selected for the 2014 World Cup, and unfortunately, history froze him inside Brazil's darkest footballing night, the 7-1 disaster. That single match erased years of brilliance in the public eye and quietly ended his international relevance. Instead of running from it, Hulk stayed put and got better. 36 goal contributions the following season. League top scorer, player of the year. Zenit's 4th league title ever. European goals against PSV, Benfica, Sevilla. It didn't matter who stood in front of him. By his final Russian season, he reached another level entirely. 51 goal contributions, 36 of them in just over 2,000 minutes, with only 6 matches all year where he didn't register a goal or assist. And still, Zenit finished 3rd. Even when UEFA named him to the Champions League group stage team of the tournament, the exits came early. He became Zenit's all-time Champions League top scorer, the biggest predator in the smallest ecosystem. And yet, instead of chasing validation, he doubled down on reality. China came next. Shanghai SIPG, 21 million a year. And the football, it looked unfair, like a grown man playing against kids. Prime Bale dropped into a training match. 9 straight Asian Champions League games with goals, 8 assists to go with it. 1 blank match and they were out. In the league, 33 goal contributions in 27 matches still weren't enough for consistency, and aside from 1 successful season under Villas-Boas again, the story repeated. Then life threw its wildest curveball, a controversial divorce, a shocking remarriage, and suddenly, at 34 years old, something snapped back into place. Hulk wanted home. He wanted Brazil, and thank God he did. Atletico Mineiro didn't get a farewell tour version of Hulk. They got a man possessed. After months sidelined by federation delays, a slow start, even a brief benching, the switch flipped. 12 goal contributions in 15 league matches. Goals and assists through every Copa do Brasil round. Braces in the quarterfinals and semifinals. Goals in the final. Titles followed. Golden Boots followed. Player of the Year followed. Atletico Mineiro, a club with 1 league title in its entire history, suddenly completed the Brazilian treble. Hulk became the first player ever to finish top scorer in both the league and cup in the same season. Add 10 goal contributions in 12 Libertadores matches, 5 straight Mineirão titles, 7 goals across 4 finals, and a late career international recall after 5 years in exile. From 34 to 38, Hulk has been involved in 147 goals in 3.5 years, rewriting everything people thought they knew about him. Call his career wasted if you want. Say he chose money over myth. But history will remember this. Hulk didn't fade away. He roared until the very end. And while Europe may never have fully claimed him, Brazil finally did.